Oh, good afternoon. I'm so excited. I'm sitting here looking at Makasha and I'm mesmerized by her gorgeousness and then just all of the, I guess, her looks too, but just her gorgeousness and everything that she is and does. And I was just about to tell her what it means to me as an urban Indigenous woman to see, a young woman doing, like, living what I think so many of us only dreamed of. So, for being here. Good afternoon, Scano, Jody Nigasso. My name is Jody Harbor. My great grandmother was enfranchised from Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. She's of the Cayuga Nation. I love to mention her. I love to do long introductions to my family and what I've learned about the history of my family being here and everyone else, but there's just no time for that because we have Makasa Looking Horse here today. And I want to just express my gratitude to Karen and Speak Up and Empower for providing this broadcast and this platform and this space to offer, what we're beginning to create, which is a community for grandmother's voice, which is for Indigenous people to just be able to come on and share their inspiration, their stories, passion, resilience, and hope for everyone, that watches that, we have an opportunity to connect with our culture. And if it's through people like, you, Makasha, who, you do so much for the learning and the growing and the healing of our nation. And I'm really grateful that you're here today. I love to share just little bits and morsels of how I meet people, because the work that I do is, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been so open about speaking about my spirituality and my connection to spirit and the creator and what I do. And from somebody who's so mainstream, I've worked in different areas of, fashion industry to whatever I've done, the hair industry. But this has always been my core, is just being really connected to Mother Earth and my Indigenous knowing. So I met Makasha before I met Makasha physically. Like, I met her brother and I followed her, her father and her mother. Like, I didn't know it was all connected. And then, my cousin Grandma Renee's like, oh yeah, they're family, or they're, I like, so it's just amazing that how everything circles back. And so, Makasha, thank you so much for being here. I would never do justice introducing anyone else, because I believe we're so proud in introducing ourselves. So I'd love to offer that opportunity for you today to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Sego Sewego Makashin Gats Kinekahaka Nikohonjoda, Wakatuhuni, Six Nations Nidawageno. Hi everybody, my name is Makasa Looking Horse, and I am Mohawk, Wolf Clan, and Lakota. So yeah, I come from two different nations, so that means I carry two different responsibilities. I'm 23 years old, and I'm at McMaster University studying Indigenous Studies and Social Sciences department. I'm currently in my 5th year, actually. It kind of took me a little bit more, one more year, because I've been doing a lot of like action and protesting, and so all of that like kind of set
Good
it
stuff
back a little bit. Yeah, but just okay. Like, I don't really mind. I really like being in school because it gives me like the flexibility to do other things, which is, I think, the route that I need to go. But yeah, I am from Six Nations, and I go to my dad's in South Dakota every summer, so I guess I'm from both. I spend a lot of time there, and yeah, I think that's it. I am a Sundance leader. I work for Global Water Futures for the last 3 years as a youth coordinator. I'm an Ohologo youth lead. I'm my grandmother's new youth ambassador. And I have a lot of different hats, like ceremonies.
Yeah, you do.
So it's a lot of like, yeah, it's hard to explain exactly like what I do unless I go in depth.
Well, okay, we like the depths here, and I'm gonna just bring up some things because we're just like for myself, learning everything that I've learned from the urban perspective. Okay, because I was not raised. I only had dreams about what it meant to be in Sundance, to be raised and birthed in ceremony. Right? Okay, these are things that I know I've learned about you. You were on a unity ride and a run at like 6 months. I know that story, and I learned of it from different grandmothers and elders that shared with it, and the knowledge keepers that spoke about these things, these things that happened, and you were a part of it because you were born into it. And I'm going to be real blunt and bold right now because there's so much I don't even know. I want to say controversy in everything that we do. There is like privilege all around, and some people would actually look at you as an indigenous privileged person, right? That's what, right? Because you have all of these opportunities that,
Yeah.
right? And people would say, "Oh, she's privileged" or whatever, and they come from that place, and it's like, who cares? There's a big difference. And right now that word gets thrown around a lot in our society and with all of the things that are happening. I would never, and from my heart to yours and your families and community, as we learn about the real going on of what it means to be, maybe council and hereditary and government and all of those things, like, the reality is you've been raised in something that many of us thought was taken from us, that we would never ever see again. So I'm moved that you are here, right? And so grateful that you have, you know, honored us by saying, yeah, I would love to share my story with those that only dreamed of being raised in this capacity. So thank you first for letting me share that, because I just felt like sometimes I hear that being in the space that I am, that everybody has their opinion, but you know what? We're all just here doing our earth walk and the best that we can do. So before we get into all the other things that you do, because you have a video cast or whatever they call that now, I don't know, like podcast, video cast, or that, right? And that's powerful. And then I met you, the first time I met you, I was like, oh, damn, that's who she is. Oh my God, she looks like everybody that I know, that I know. And then, it was you, and we were in a water walk, and the things that you have done and delivered to, whether it be the UN or Nestle or speaking up and doing all that stuff. We're going to save that for like a little bit into our conversation. What was it like? Like, just real. Did you even know that you were on a unity walk when you were little? Like, did you even know you were running, like what you were doing?
No, I actually didn't. And so there was a unity run from Six Nations to New York City. And I was on that when I just remember a lot of people, and I remember it was really nice to feel like have your community together and having one mind and doing one, like all on one mind and doing one thing together for a long period of time. Like I think it took like 2 months or something. So we were all together for 2 months and we were traveling, and that was a unity run. So I think there was horses and there was runners. So every day they ran a distance and then we camped, and then they ran a distance and then they camped. So, like having all of those experiences, I just remember like I was pretty young then. I think I was like maybe 9 or something, and I just remember, like I don't remember it being out of the ordinary. Like I didn't think that was not normal. I thought like that was just how things were and how life was, and that we do that sometimes when I think we're making the recognition of UNDRIP. So I think that's when UNDRIP was recognized, or we're trying to make it recognized. And yeah, so we had runners, and they carry that message. And yeah, that was for like, yeah, maybe a month. I'm not too sure how long exactly, but I know it was a really long time, but I didn't think that I was out of the ordinary to do that. But I do remember like having like riding on horses, like running, and it was like a long trek, but like I just remember like how happy we were when we were camping, and that like we all ate together, and how early like the morning was, and we all had to gather our camp up and start moving again. So it was just like that was the norm for me. Like that was what my normal was, and that was mainly where I learned a lot of things about like our culture or our stories, or like that's where real like indigenous knowledge can be taught, I think, is when it's and like experienced, because it's really hard because I am in indigenous studies and I know what they teach and I know how it's structured, and I know that it's best and it's easiest and it's the most like how to learn indigenous knowledge is to physically experience it and not so much in a classroom. So it's really a different setting. And I think that's where, like, even though it was hard, like, of course it was hard. I mean, we had to find bathrooms like on the side of the road, like those things weren't convenient at all. But like it was still an experience, and it was still hard, but it was still beautiful at the same time. And that I think that like that theme of it being hard but it being very beautiful, it goes across like all of the things that I've done. They're all
yeah.
all
I
pretty
think
hard. Yeah.
when we talk about indigenous, that's my connection to all of this is just I really believe that indigenous just ways of being is so important to the healing. And I think that people are really starting to understand that and get that this is, really obviously it's about doing right instead of wrong and all of those things, and but it's healing, and it's about sharing all of the knowledge that we didn't get a chance to share, because we know that that's what allows us to live healthy lifestyles and whatnot. But I also love that you're so young, and I know that for my own self, like I'm up there, I'm up like 50, and there are things that I'm doing now in my life, learning, healing. We talk about all of the growth as a nation that we're doing. I'm just remembering things in my life that are like, oh, that's what that was. So I'm pretty sure you're so young that you'll be remembering so many different things. But right now you are in action mode, girl. I love watching you and listen and watching you grow and learn and share and put people into action. And that's kind of what I put on my Facebook, was like, let's hear about what she does, and then hopefully you can support, like, move people into action, because there's a lot of stuff. When we talked about it, was like I was like, oh my gosh, what do we tell them to do first? So from here, like, I'd love for you to just tell it. I don't know, tell it. You can either tell us something personally about yourself, like there are so many things that we're talking about, but maybe I know you do a lot of work with your mom, right?
Yeah.
And that advocacy piece and your podcast and the water. So I don't know, wherever you want to go, please go.
We could like start like, well, wherever, I mean, all of this stuff like happens, and everybody thinks that like I have started this when I start to work, but it really didn't. It started when I was started my rites of passage, and when I was 12 years old, and I started sundancing, because sundancing, if nobody knows what sundancing is not eating or drinking for 4 days in 100-degree South Dakota weather. And yeah, it's sacrificing yourself for your environment, for the future generations, for your elders, for the health of your people, so that your people can have a healthy and good life. So I mean, that having that instilled in me at such a young age, of having the appreciation of water, because I've been out with it for 4 whole days, and having the appreciation for where our food comes from, what my food is, because I've been in without it for 4 whole days. and how like vital your sleep is, because like that's the only thing that ever fuels you if you don't go without food or water for 4 days. And so like sacrificing, so you pray the whole 4 days. You pray from when you wake up to when you go down. You think about every single detail. You have 4 days to think about those things. You think about them and you pray about the health. So you think about my mom, and I pray about her, that she has a good heart, and her heart stays healthy, and she has that she has protection around her, and that I think of like about every single cell in her body, every single thing about her is healthy and helps her live a long life, and that she's protected, and that her path is clear and she has no hardships ahead of her. So like you think about that, and you think about every single person in your entire life that you want that for. Even if they're your enemy, you still pray to them and you still pray for them. Even if you don't like a person, you still pray for them. And that's the same thing with everything that's outside, including the water. So you pray about the creek, you pray about the ocean, about everything that's in the ocean, you pray about the coral, you pray about everything. So every single thing that is out there and that keeps us alive and that is important, you pray about it and you sacrifice. That's what you're sacrificing yourself for, to like the spirits, so that the spirits hear you, because they hear you they hear your prayers when you're suffering, for like you're saying, pity me. I'm praying for all of these things. So that's like basically what it is, and it's really tough. And like I want to quit like on the second day because it's so hot. Like I don't think people know, like the grass is completely dry. It hurts your feet. You can't brush your teeth, you can't brush your hair, you can't like do these things. You're not allowed to talk to anybody the whole 4 days. So I've been doing that and leading the women for that amount of time since I was 12, and I'm 23 now. So like
every year you do that? Like how often do you do that?
Every single summer.
Wow, girl, thank you.
Yeah, so I think
thank you.
Like people don't understand like how this started for me, and how important and vital that peace is, and that this isn't just a way of life of protecting my water, of protecting the future generations. It's my role, my responsibility. It's not just my passion. It's much more than that. So it's like, it's really hard to explain that as an Indigenous person, because people want to like label you as an activist, and that like you're an activist for water. Like it's much deeper than that. So people don't understand that, I feel like. And I don't even like the word activist, because it puts a negative label on you that is not really valid, because I'm just protecting my future generations, and I'm just want to ensure that the water is clean, because we have less than 2% of fresh water in the entire world. So I'm pushing for my community and for our rights as Indigenous people to protect our water. And because this is our land, so we have rights to our land and our water. So we need to protect and push for our people to protect our water, from corporations like Nestle, water bottling companies that think that water is not a human right, when it really is. And I don't know how people can think that like water is not a human right when you can literally die from having no water. So yeah, it's just.
Did you say 2%?
Yeah,
less than 2%. Less than 2% of clean water in the world.
Yeah.
Fresh water.
Yeah, less than 2% clean fresh water in the world.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
that's why that's why it's important. Like, I think everybody should be doing this. Like, everybody needs to be conscious of how much water, or like what are our issues at hand. Like, what can we vote to fix? What can we do? What kind of letters can we send to who to change what policy? Like,
Yeah.
just to have some kind of concern and be like aware of the state that we're in and be aware of the choices that our government makes, because we can make movement, and we can we can vote, we can make a change into what we want, because the government serves the people. And like, if we have no water, then how are they going to serve a people that no longer exist, basically?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have lots always going on, and I'm really, like I said, very grateful that you came to spend some time with us today. And we didn't even tap into half the stuff. So I think we got to do this like probably once a month with you, so that you can fill us in on all the stuff that you do, because we're here every Wednesday for 30 minutes with people, and sometimes longer, sometimes like an hour and a bit. But I know you have somewhere to go off right now. You have where are you going, a Chiefs? Where
Yeah,
are you going?
I'm a keynote speaker for the Chiefs of Ontario's youth hall, who are talking about COVID-19. So I have that soon.
Yes.
Like,
So before
and
we go, because I know we don't, I want to give you enough time to go there and get settled and get comfortable for your presentation. I would love for you, it's like always, let's just push it. Let's push it and speak to people that are listening. And we know that at some point in time, this messages from here will get out, will get shared. And we were talking about the water issues on Six Nations, which is our neighbor, and it's our community that we really work to support, and Mississaugas as well. And so there was something that you shared with me yesterday, and I was just like, what? Like, let's talk about that. You need to get the waters tested in everybody's house. Can you just quickly say something before you go about
yeah,
that, and hopefully we can share that?
yeah. So the water project that I'm on has been studying Six Nations water for 3 years, and we're taking test water samples from or water samples from the tap. So that means cistern, water treatment plant, or well water. And the chiefs wanted us to attest for heavy metals. So that's what we did. We tested for heavy metals, and we found out that there's 5 different heavy metals, including arsenic, and 400 times the allowed amount of, what is it called? Well, whatever, like basically all of the heavy metals. Like, there was 400 times the allowed amount. So since COVID has kind of stopped that, but we're still trying to gather people for when COVID is over. We can test more tap water. So I'm asking Six Nations households to go to Ohneganos Water's Life Project on Facebook, and there's a file there that you can insert your address and say that you want your water tested, so that we can collect more data to see where these heavy metals are coming from. I can't hear you. You're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah. You're still on mute.
I know. I was like, I couldn't find my mouse. Oh my gosh, I can't be heard. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't want to keep you, because your voice, like Lacey says, is so important and it matters. And we're not going to stop here. We do a lot of work in Halton, like wherever. We have connections, and we're doing a lot of great work, and we want to support everything that you do. So whatever it is, however we can get those messages out there, whatever we can do. I know we have there's groups around, even in Halton, that are always looking for ways to support our Indigenous communities. So, we just got to keep talking and keep sharing and keep giving you this opportunity for platforms. And I know in 2021, Halton is going to have a lot more space for us to talk about this, and a lot more space for us to support this. So go get ready for your next interview. Girl, thank you so much for being here. We'll connect, and we're going to pick this up. And if you haven't been to watch Makasa on her podcast, please look her up on Facebook. And I was going to post that in here before we go.
It's called Let's Talk Water.
Yes. Right. Sorry, say that again.
Ohneganos, Let's Talk Water. So that's on Facebook and it's on YouTube. All
Yeah,
of
and
our
you can,
record on YouTube.
and so you can find her, and we'll also post all that on our Facebook page. So thank you so much. All the best to your family, and we'll see you soon, girl.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye. See ya.